For a lot of people, it's not about the solution. It's about the political pandering. And some of them are making it perfectly obvious. So, for example, Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, he says that gun violence is going to be on the ballot, right? And this is what they want. They didn't bring up any votes. They didn't bring up any votes on gun action in the last couple of days. Chuck Schumer said he's not going to because they don't actually want to vote, because it turns out a lot of the stuff they're proposing is unpopular. The idea here is if you don't like gun violence, you should vote for us. We don't have solutions, but the other guys love gun violence, so you should vote for us. It'll be on the ballot. Here's Richard Blumenthal.
Let me be very blunt. Gun violence prevention is going to be on the ballot this November. It will be on the ballot this November, and we need to make it a decisive issue. And we will vote them out if they fail to vote the right way.
Vote the right way on what? Vote the right way on what? What is the proposal that you have made that would have stopped a school shooting like this? No one can answer that very simple question. I have made multiple proposals on this program and for years about how you stop school shootings like this, ranging from the societal. You need to create social institutions that prevent family breakdown. You need to have stronger communities where people are actually aware of the red flags in their communities and are taking advantage of the existing laws, like red flag laws, in order to inform the police when there is a dangerous person in the community and giving the police the power to actually do something about that, changing the mental health statutes so that people who are a danger to themselves and others can be involuntarily committed for longer than 48 hours before you just release them back onto the street to murder people. Right? These are all things we can do. Hardening schools, making sure that there's the proper fencing, making sure that there are armed guards on premises, making sure that there's one point of entry and multiple points of exit, making sure that the doors inside the buildings automatically lock when teachers enter and exit rooms so that if somebody gets into the hallway, they can't just go room to room shooting people. Right? All of these are things that, by the way, are recommended by security professionals right, left, and center. Nothing I'm saying here is outside the mainstream, and all of it is very doable. But we don't have any of those conversations. Instead, it's about demonization of people who, believe in school shootings? I don't believe that Democrats believe in school shootings. I believe they're politically pandering right now. But I certainly don't believe that they are in league with school shooters, but they seem to believe that everybody who disagrees with them is in league with school shooters. Joe Biden yesterday, he said the only reason to own an AR-15 is because basically you're a sicko. Here's the president of the United States yesterday.
What in God's name do you need an assault weapon for except to kill someone? Deer aren't running through the forest with Kevlar vests on, for God's sake. It's just sick. And the gun manufacturers have spent 2 decades aggressively marketing assault weapons, which make them the most and largest profit. For God's sake, we have to have the courage to stand up to the industry.
It's not the gun industry that is making this happen. The reason that I own a rifle is to shoot bad people who try to threaten my family. That is why I own a rifle. That's why I think the vast majority of Americans own a rifle. It's why you have people who are on campus carrying AR-15s, depending on which campus you are on. It's why you have armed security guards to act as both a deterrent and actually as a first line of defense if somebody decides to do something like this. But the White House's idea is always gun control and gun control only. It's not just that this is one of their myriad proposals. It's their only proposal. It's the only thing we are allowed to discuss. If you discuss anything else, you are eliding the problem. But what about the fact that nothing you propose, I keep coming back to this because it's true and it's just mind-boggling. It's bewildering. Not a thing that you have proposed stops these school shootings. It does not stop the school shootings. And yet you keep proposing these things as though it would. And so Karine Jean-Pierre, she says, well, the answer is to take away guns. So first of all, unless you're talking about a mass gun confiscation, I don't know what policy you're proposing. Are you proposing a mass gun confiscation of hundreds of millions of guns in the United States? Let's try to put that on the ballot. Really run on that. See how that goes for you. See if the American people are willing to do this. By the way, even when they had a mass gun confiscation and buyback in Australia, only 1/3 of people who actually own guns turned in their guns. The rates of gun violence in Australia were already quite low before they had that mass gun confiscation and gun buyback. But Karine Jean-Pierre suggests, well, if more guns were the solution, we'd be the safest country, which is just, there are many holes in this logic. We'll break it down in a moment.
America has more guns than people in this country. If more guns were indeed the solution, we would be the safest country in the world, but we are not. And so the president has been very clear. He wants action. He wants Congress to take action. He wants to turn this pain into action.
If more guns were the solution, we'd be the safest country. Well, more guns in the hands of people who are responsible is a solution. More guns in the hands of people who are irresponsible and evil is not a solution. We all know this. So instead of trying to target the people who are irresponsible or mentally ill or sick or evil, instead of trying to target that, your solution is to try to take the guns away from law-abiding people. I have a counter to if more guns were the solution, we'd be the safest country. If more gun laws were the solution, Chicago would be the safest city. If more gun laws were the solution, Washington, D.C. would be the safest city. All of this springs from a deeper notion, which is that the government can solve every problem by passing a law, which just is, it's never true. Government cannot solve every problem simply by passing a law. It requires human beings to implement that law. It requires people to comply with the law. It requires people to trust the law. It requires a bunch of things to happen. Even if you were to pass a law confiscating all guns in the country, you'd actually have to effectuate that. How many people would die in the effectuation of such a policy? So all of this it's nonsense. But again, they have to come up with some bad guy and then target the bad guy as political opposition. So Karine Jean-Pierre, she says the NRA is contributing to gun violence. Okay, this is coming from the party that has ripped on the police so routinely that the murder rates have spiked by a huge percentage over the last 2 years in every major American city. And they're saying it's the NRA contributing to gun violence. The NRA is basically a defunct organization at this point. The NRA does not have anything close to the kind of power that it had 20 years ago. The NRA has been having all sorts of internal corruption issues. It's been having all sorts of internal financial issues. It doesn't have the kind of sway and pull that it used to have. The truth is that the gun lobby in the United States is just people who like the Second Amendment. The vast majority of people I know who own guns are not members of the NRA. And the vast, vast, vast majority of people I know who are advocates of Second Amendment rights are not members of the NRA. This is not anti-NRA. They're just pointing out the NRA is way weaker than it once was. And not only that, even when the NRA was strong, that was not the reason why people like the Second Amendment in the United States. It's a lobbying group. This is like saying that Planned Parenthood is solely responsible for abortion law in the United States. That's not right. Abortion law in California, Planned Parenthood's prevalence in California is reflective of the fact that there are a lot of people who love abortion in California. But here's Karine Jean-Pierre suggesting it's the NRA contributing to gun violence. Not, for example, allowing the mentally ill to be out on the streets, able to do whatever they want without involuntary commitment laws on the books. It's not a question of police procedures. It's not a question of yelling at the police every 5 minutes and sicking the DOJ on them. It's not a problem of family breakdown. None of those, it's the NRA. Nailed it.
What is inappropriate is that the leadership of the National Rifle Association has proven time and time again that they are contributing to the problem of gun violence, not trying to solve it. And it's shameful that the NRA and their allies have stood in the way of every attempt to advance measures that we all know will save lives from gun violence.
No, you don't. You don't. And so again, it's all about the gun lobby. You're corrupt. If you oppose them, you're corrupt. Okay, so here, Richard Blumenthal doing the same thing. It's the gun lobby. The gun lobby's days are numbered. You know what? You could abolish the NRA tomorrow. It wouldn't do a damn bit of difference because a huge number of Americans just disagree with you.
I want to say a word to the gun lobby. Your days are numbered. You are a danger to society and to America if you continue to oppose these common sense measures.
Oh, you're a danger to America if you oppose me. And some of the other ridiculous proposals that have been made. So Democrats have a variety of proposals that they are making right now. Not before, of course, suggesting that they are the solution. They themselves are the solution to school shootings, even when they're mass shootings that take place fairly routinely in their states. Gavin Newsom doing this. So the governor of California, who was subjected to a recall by his own citizens. He survived the recall, but he is certainly not any great shakes as a governor. There's a reason people are leaving California in droves. He was ripping on the state of Texas and suggesting that Texas is really, really bad because you have the freedom to keep and bear arms in the state of Texas.
Do not give in to the cynicism and all the crap that you heard today in that press conference around evil and mental health that completely belies the fact that there's only one nation on planet Earth that separates itself from all other nations, and that's the United States of America. And the perversion of a Second Amendment that begins around well-regulated.
Okay, that is, first of all, he doesn't understand the Second Amendment at all. Well-regulated does not mean regulations, as in like law. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the preservation of a free state, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That phraseology means a militia that regulates, meaning that they were called regulars, that actually goes out and practices, being necessary to the preservation of a free state from the federal government and foreign invaders. right? The right to keep and bear arms on an individual level shall not be infringed, because you know who constituted the militia? It wasn't just like there was a shack there with all the guns, and the head of the militia would call everybody up on the phone and be like, hey, go get your gun from the shack over there. Everybody had their gun at their house, historically speaking. Like, these people are just deliberately misrepresenting what the Constitution says in order to achieve their desired effects, of course. And then the suggestion that it's cynicism to point out that mass shootings happen in California. It's not cynicism, that's a fact. Mass shootings do happen in California. Of course, despite the mass gun laws. Murder rates in LA are high. There are gun laws in Los Angeles. And as far as the idea this is the only country in the world, this is such a trite, nonsensical line from Gavin Newsom. As John Lott points out, since 1998, there have been a total of 9 attacks similar to the Robb Elementary School shooting. 9 is 9 too many. Once you adjust for population, there are many other countries from Germany to Russia to Finland that have comparable rates of school shooting. Of course, it's true. People tend to ignore the fact that the United States is a very, very populous and large country. The United States population at this point is 330 million people as of 2020. 330 million people. The entirety of Europe is only about twice that of the United States, a little over twice that of the United States. We're a very large country. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.